The town of Hollow Creek was small and forgotten. Its houses were old and creaky, the streets were always empty. A thick fog hung in the air, making it feel like a ghost town. The most forgotten place of all was the old town library. It stood at the edge of town, hidden by overgrown trees. Its once bright paint was now peeling and faded. One afternoon, a young girl named Clara wandered into Hollow Creek. She was visiting her eccentric Aunt Millie, who lived in a crooked house on the outskirts of town. Clara was a curious girl, always eager to explore new places. And something about the forgotten town, especially the old library, drew her in like a moth to a flickering flame. Clara stood outside the library, peering through the dusty windows. Cobwebs clung to the glass, obscuring the view. She could just make out rows of dusty books, their spines faded with age. A shiver ran down her spine. The library seemed to pulse with an unknown energy. This place held secrets, she could feel it. Taking a deep breath, Clara pushed open the heavy oak doors. They groaned like a grumpy giant, protesting after years of silence. The air inside was thick with the smell of old paper and dust. The musty scent tickled her nose, making her sneeze. Despite the eerie quiet, Clara felt a strange sense of excitement. This forgotten place was about to reveal its secrets to her. Clara stepped cautiously into the library. The only light came from the dusty windows, casting long shadows across the room. The silence was broken only by the sound of her own breathing. As her eyes adjusted to the dimness, she noticed something strange. The shadows seemed to be moving, twisting and turning like living things. Clara walked deeper into the library, drawn by an unseen force. She reached the history section, her fingers trailing along the spines of the books. Suddenly, a book practically jumped off the shelf, landing at her feet with a loud thud. The book was ancient, bound in leather with a tarnished silver clasp. Its title, barely visible under a layer of dust, sent a shiver down her spine. Section 4, The Vanishing. Clara picked up the book, her heart pounding. She blew off the dust, revealing a beautifully illustrated cover. It depicted a bustling town scene, full of life and laughter. This happy scene felt so different from the Hollow Creek she saw outside. As she opened the book, a yellowed piece of parchment fluttered out. It was a map, but not just any map. This map showed secret passages beneath the town, leading to a hidden chamber marked the Chamber of Whispers. Clara began to read. The book told the story of Hollow Creek, a town once filled with joy and prosperity, but then the story took a dark turn. It spoke of a mysterious event called the Vanishing. One stormy night, without explanation, people began to disappear. One by one, they vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. The disappearances always occurred during the darkest hour of the night, accompanied by whispers on the wind. Section 5, Facing the Shadows. As Clara read, the library around her seemed to change. The air grew colder, the shadows danced more violently, taking on grotesque shapes that seemed to reach for her. Whispers, faint at first, grew louder, swirling around her like a ghostly wind. Clara's heart pounded in her chest. Fear threatened to overwhelm her, but she couldn't tear herself away from the book. She had to know the truth about the vanishing. She reached the final chapter, her breath catching in her throat. The book described a ritual, a sacrifice made to appease restless spirits trapped in the Chamber of Whispers. To free them, someone had to read aloud the names of the vanished from the town records. But where were those records? Clara's gaze fell on a chest tucked beneath a reading table. It was ornately carved, but covered in cobwebs and dust, as if untouched for centuries. Section 6, A Town Transformed. Clara cautiously approached the chest. The whispers intensified, urging her forward. Her hands trembling, she lifted the heavy lid. Inside, she found a dusty, leather-bound volume. Its pages contained the names of the vanished, their names inscribed in elegant script. Clara took a deep breath and began to read. As she spoke each name, a cold breeze swept through the library. The shadows writhed and moaned, their forms becoming more distinct. They swirled around her, their forms shifting from menacing to mournful. Clara continued to read, her voice growing stronger with each name. As she reached the final name, a blinding light filled the room. The shadows shrieked and dissipated like smoke. The library, once dark and oppressive, was bathed in an ethereal glow. The air felt lighter, cleaner. The whispers were gone, replaced by a comforting silence. Clara left the library, the book clutched tightly in her hands. As she walked back into town, she noticed something different. The fog had lifted, replaced by a clear blue sky. The houses didn't seem as run down, and the people who had once hurried past with their heads down now smiled and greeted each other. A sense of peace had settled over Hollow Creek, a peace that felt both new and ancient. But as the sun set and shadows began to lengthen, Clara heard whispers on the wind. They were faint, almost inaudible, but they were there. The story of the vanishing wasn't over, not entirely. It lived on in the whispers, a reminder of the secrets hidden beneath the surface of the seemingly peaceful town.